All right, what's up, everybody? We are back here again for week number 15 of the Backyard Bookie. Scott, we made it through the regular season. You had a punishment to do, so we're just going to cut right to that one. Let the people enjoy a little bit of pain and suffering before we hop on into these conference championship game picks.
Alrighty, it's Thanksgiving. It's time to meet my maker here. Amanda's going to go ahead and video me putting the stuff in. To making better picks this bowl season. Cheers. Not terrible. Weirdly not terrible. A lot of flavors, a lot of mixing, conflicting flavors, but not terrible. That wasn't too bad. We're good.
All right, Scott, how was that shot?
Yeah, so put a couple things on the wheel. Put the shooters on there, or put the mixers on there, and put the liquors on there. And when I got what I got, I thought it was going to be the worst thing ever, and it turned out to be weirdly good. I don't know. It was a bunch of different flavors, and it turned out to be okay. I even did like an extra one just for a safe measure. So um, turned out to be okay. So I'm still alive, still here for this program. So hopefully don't have to do that again. I'm not looking good on the season total here, but hopefully at least the month of December I can come back and get one. But yeah, season total is not looking good. So expect to do something pretty big in the next month or so.
Yeah, not great, but we're on the right track. We went 6-2 last week. So you're back to the winning ways. You're feeling good about it, but there's not too many games to pick this week. Conference championship weekend. Who do you got for your first bet?
Yeah, like I said, conference championship games, about 10 games to play with here. I'm going probably the biggest game of the slate here, Georgia, Texas. Um, it went up to -3 for Texas. It was at 2.5 earlier when I took a look. It's pretty much right down the middle right now. I think it's has a lot to do with the game they played earlier this year. Texas looked terrible in the first half, but honestly, so did Georgia. Carson Beck was terrible, and really hasn't improved that much during this year. Like I said, might be a Cavender thing. Who knows? But um, yeah, so for this game, I mean, I liked how Texas looked against A&M. Obviously, A&M's not a, a great offense. They didn't score a single point on offense against the Texas defense. So um, obviously they had a good game plan coming in. They've already played Georgia one time, so they have a good idea. Quinn Ewers looked a lot better than he did against Georgia earlier this year. So for me, I feel like Georgia's gonna kind of crumble in this spot. I think Texas is gonna end up covering the -3. I got -2.5. I can take whichever one, but yeah, betting wise, I think it's pretty much right down the middle. Georgia's been terrible against the spread this year, 3-9. Texas kind of down the middle, 7-5. But yeah, they're Georgia's 1-4 in the last five against the spread, so not looking good there. But yeah, I think in this spot, I think Texas kind of proved they can win the SEC. They look pretty good against A&M, so I'm taking them -2.5 or 3, whichever
Yeah,
one you take.
I don't know if I was so sold about the Longhorns. Really bad turnovers in the red zone, and A&M's defensive line kind of whooped their ass in pass protection. Weren't good in the run game, but there were some massive holes there. And Ewer's ankle looked like it was acting up a little bit. Maybe we see a heavy dose of Arch Manning, like we kind of saw a little bit last Saturday against Georgia. I think we're in for a low scoring affair in that one, so that could benefit the Bulldogs. For my first game,
Yeah,
I'm picking a
and
Friday.
also Georgia going in 8 overtimes against Georgia Tech, not looking good there either. So Georgia Tech got control of that game and kind of shit down their leg to end up losing that one. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, you're not true. But 8 overtimes is not 8 overtimes anymore. Not quite the same as the old 8 overtimes. I'm picking a Friday game because they're playing games on Friday, and I hate picking Friday games. But This is a game gonna decide a playoff spot, probably UNLV and Boise State. My man Ashton Genty not going to win the Heisman Trophy, even though he should win the Heisman Trophy. But he's pretty much the only reason Boise State's even in this spot. They currently have a bye; they're the 4 seed. But UNLV is a good team. They replaced their quarterback mid-season because he quit on the team, and they didn't really miss a beat. They've played a pretty decent schedule as well at a conference. But I'm gonna go for the chaos vote here. UNLV getting 4 points right now. It opened at 5, so it's been bet down a little bit. I just think Boise State's kind of looked whatever the last few weeks in the Mountain West. The Mountain West is really, really, we know it's not great. It's not great. And they played a 5 point game the first time. It was 29-24 in Boise, or no, in UNLV. So I think we're going to be in it for a close game here. I think this is going to be a close game. I'm just going to take the points on this one. I'm getting 4 for the Running Rebels. I think this is a good game. I hope Boise State wins. I want to see what they look like in the playoff. But I just think it's kind of, two teams pretty closely matched. Nobody's really overpowering. If they can kind of slow down Ashton, maybe UNLV could win this game outright. But I'm just going to take them getting the 4 points here.
Yeah, I mean, I had this game as well. I have the exact same thing as you. I have UNLV +4. In that game, Ashton Genty only ran for 128, 33 carries in that one too. Um, just under 4 yards of carry, so they did stop him pretty well. And I watched Haj Malik Williams play earlier this year at Oregon State. He's a pretty damn good player. Really good runner. He ran for 105, 19 for 105 and a touchdown against them the first game. I'm a little worried that the game's in Boise. I don't know what the weather's going to be like. It's just 35, a little bit of wind, so not terrible. But that blue turf might do something to them. Who knows? But yeah, I like UNLV too, especially getting the 4. They only lost by 5 in the first one, like you said. But yeah, they can just kind of do it exactly what they did in the first game. Stop Ashton Genty. I think this could be a close game at least. Hopefully, even the UNLV win. So I like the pick, and I have that pick as well. So I'm taking UNLV +4.
Yeah, running the ball, just cold weather could be good. Both teams just have to run the ball. And like you said, worst game of the year for Genty, easily, at least for yards, 33 for 128. Yeah, it's gotta be his worst game for the year for them. All right, so for my next pick, I picked a football game. Which football game did I pick? I picked an ACC showdown. We got Clemson and the SMU Ponies playing in the ACC championship game, that historic rivalry matchup. Clemson coming off a loss to South Carolina that both you and I were kind of all over there. Now it came down to the last drive of the game for South Carolina, but they took care of business. SMU, on the other hand, no sweats against Cal. I also had them in that one. And this team is like SMU. People can say what you want. The ACC's been weird. They haven't played each other. The top 3 teams, Clemson, SMU, and Miami, have not played each other this year. That's kind of bizarre how that worked out. SMU's only losses to BYU. Now, BYU's not that good, but BYU is one of the better teams in the Big 12. So it's not a bad loss. And they switched quarterbacks. They switched quarterbacks after that game, and they haven't lost since going to the backup there. And Cade Klubnik and this Clemson team, just I don't feel it, man. In big spots, I don't feel Dabo. I don't feel this offense. I don't think they're going to be able to score with SMU. I think SMU's offense is just really kind of rocking and rolling right now. They've been pretty much housing everybody. I mean, they didn't cover 11 against Duke or 19 against Boston College, but they've been taking care of business. I like SMU. SMU, everything to play for. They're going to get a bye. They're probably out of the playoff if they lose this game. Clemson is definitely out of the playoff if they lose this game. So I'm just gonna take it. It's under a field goal. It's 2.5. I'm gonna take SMU -2.5.
Yeah, I had this game as well, but I do not have the spread. I have the total in this one. Like you
Perfect.
said, SMU's offense has been great this year, especially since they changed quarterbacks earlier in the year. I know I watched that Nevada game earlier in the year. They looked terrible. Change of quarterback, everything's been different. They're 7-5 with the over this year, so not great, but their overs. I mean, I think their totals have been relatively high. They've all been in the 50s for the most part, or close to it. Um, Unders in the last 2, but their defense has been doing really well. Only 6 and 7 in the last 2. Cal and Virginia. Um, Total's 55.5. I'm going to take the over. I think Clemson does score at least 20, and I think obviously SMU is going to score. I think at least 35. I think if Clemson gets a little more, that'd be great. But Um, yeah, I think it's definitely doable. Just need Clemson to put up, 3 touchdowns and maybe a field goal, maybe 4 touchdowns would be great. Or SMU just comes out and slings it and does their thing like they've been doing. They've been putting up no 38, 33, 38, 48, 28 in the last five, all against relatively good teams with Cal, Virginia, Boston College, Pitt, Duke. So not like Clemson playing Citadel, putting up 50, 51. They're actually playing ACC teams. So um, really just hoping for Clemson to put up a few touchdowns here to help the total. So I'm going to go over 55.5 in this one.
All right, I like it. Maybe Klubnik, busts a run. Dabo, they start out hot. They're feeling good. But yeah, SMU, I like SMU to score a big amount of points this weekend. For my next one, I'm going to the Big Ten. Big Ten, Penn State. Congratulations, Penn State. Nobody thought you would be here. Ohio State, fire Mr. Bourne on third base. He's, the most overrated coach of college football. But they're taking on Oregon, number one team in the country. Oregon's, been pretty good most of the way after that rough start to begin the season. They had the one almost slip up at Camp Randall and Wisconsin. But other than that, they've been taking care of business. But I'm going to look at the total in this game. I think this is going to be an ugly Big Ten affair. It is in Indianapolis, so it is indoors. But I think we're going to get the Penn State experience. When Penn State plays good teams, when they face real opponents, they just piss down their legs. Like they're awful. They're just terrible. They don't score points. They turn the ball over, but their defense is good. Their defense can get stops. They can make life difficult for people, but their offense just can't put up points. We watched them against Ohio State. We've seen similar things in years past. I think this is going to be a low scoring game. The total isn't the highest, but maybe, you know what? Maybe it is high for a Big Ten game. It's 49.5. I like the under in this game. I think Oregon does enough on offense, but I think Penn State just doesn't show up. Give me like a 24-7 or 3 game, 24-10 maybe. I think this is going to be a pretty comfortable win for Oregon. Maybe Penn State keeps it close with their defense, but I like the Ducks, but I really like the under at 49.5.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing earlier today, but for an honorable mention, I actually had Penn State plus the 3.5. I
Okay.
think they keep it relatively close because their defense is good enough, and if they're going to keep it a close game, it's not going to be a shootout. So it's definitely going to be an under game if they end up covering that spread. So for me, I think Penn State will probably I won't even say probably cover. They might cover. I think obviously Oregon's number one team in the nation, haven't lost this year. Against the spread, 6-6, 6-6. So they're right down the middle. They both you know, don't they don't have a trend either way. And they're both under teams as well, but even still right down the middle. But like you said, big game, big championship game, neutral site, indoors, Penn State good defense. And the real big thing is stopping Oregon on offense. So um, yeah, hopefully 3 touchdowns, maybe max for Oregon, maybe 4, but I don't see Penn State scoring that much. But hopefully keep it close. I don't know. We'll see. But I
Uh,
have, yeah, for an honorable mention, I have it plus 3.5. Who knows what happens? But I like your pick.
could you imagine this is the moment Penn State finally wins a big game? They win the Big Ten, they get the bye, and just cause more chaos for everybody. That would be something. All right, give us some of your honorable mentions.
Yeah, so I only have one now.
Okay.
Like you said, not too many games. I just have Arizona State minus 2.5 against Iowa State. Arizona State has been covering like crazy. I want to see what the stat is here. I think they're pull that up really quick. They are currently 10-2 against the spread. So they're killing it right now, and they're blowing teams out too. They're, Arizona, we're 7.5 point favorites. They win by 6 touchdowns. BYU, they keep it close, but they end up covering that one. Kansas State, they were dogs in that one, won by 10. And we can keep going on and on, but Arizona State's looking like they're great. Scatterboo's a dog.
Scatterboo.
He'll get a few votes in the Heisman. I feel like so. At least he'll probably be in the top 10. He'll get top 10 votes, but kind of reminds me of like a Toby Gerhart kind of guy.
That's a
Big
name.
white running back. Love those guys. So yeah, I love watching them. So yeah, I like them minus 2.5. That's the only one I have since Penn State, and I got Penn State plus 3.5.
All right, I had Arizona State as well. That was the game I was debating back and forth with putting on there with the UNLV game. I like Arizona State a lot. They're rolling. They were kind of like a whatever team, kind of bad. They struggled with Texas State early in the season, but 7-0 is favorites. They've been covering they're 9-1 their last 10. The only thing that gives me a little hesitation is Iowa State's pretty good against the run, and Arizona State is very, very Cam Scadaboo dependent. But I wouldn't be surprised if Arizona State, takes care of business. They didn't play in the regular season either, so that's kind of a nice little fun thing. I also, because I am an American, I like Army plus 4.5 against Tulane. I would have loved Tulane this week if they didn't lose to Memphis last week, because then Tulane would be legit playing for maybe a spot in the CFP because they were another ranked squad. Could have got real interesting with the Tulane win and a UNLV win to see where that all would have shaken out. All right, Scott, what is your one and only upset for this weekend?
Yeah, so I mean, we pretty much gone over the big games. We went over the Big 12, we went over the SEC, we went over the ACC.
Big
Didn't
10?
go over the Pac-12,
We did
but
not. No Pac-12.
no Pac-12 championship this year. But
Well, no, they played it a couple
um,
weeks ago. It was they played Washington
no,
State,
yeah,
Oregon State. Oregon State is your
well there you
Pac-12
go.
champion.
Love it. I'll watch the Pac-12 championship, the Pac-12 champion this year. Love to see it. Um, yeah, and this one I'm just taking basically off of numbers. I'm going Sun Belt, Marshall and Lafayette here, Louisiana, I guess is what they're called now. Yeah, Marshall's 10-1 against the spread, 10-1-1. Technically, I don't know where the push is, but I have to go back and look. But just basically off of numbers here, they're only 5.5 point dogs in this one. They are playing in Louisiana. I guess Louisiana's never mind. Yeah, they're playing in Louisiana, so um, really just based off of numbers that they play earlier this year. They did the Raging Cage. No, they didn't play. They have not played this year, so no history there. So yeah, pretty much solely based off of spread numbers, 10-1-1. That's pretty incredible. I wish I would have known that earlier this year when I was betting on games, but um, they have covered in the last four, except for Monroe. They won against Monroe, and they couldn't cover the 10.5. But otherwise, been great. I don't know much about them, but I'm taking Marshall plus one. I think I've won 80. I think it went up. Might have gone up to 190. I think I've won 80. Yeah,
Yeah,
I got
some people.
Marshall plus 180.
All right, I like it. The Thundering Herd. You got to do some better scouting, Scott. You should have picked them all year over here. Um,
I had
yeah,
no
I bet
idea.
you. I bet you Marshall probably likes going to Louisiana this time of the year. Probably a much better environment to play football in. So I like that one. I do like that. Both teams seem to be relatively close, and decent. We talked about this game for my upset. I'm going with it. Call me a homer. Call me a hater. Call me a gut. I just got a good gut feeling. I think what I watched, I was not super impressed with on Saturday. I think the Aggies let the horns off the hook. Give me the Bulldogs plus 125 this weekend in Georgia. It's basically a home game for the Dogs. The biggest thing I think in this one, as we saw in the first matchup, Georgia's D line whooped that offensive line's ass, and Texas's O line got banged up again on Saturday. We don't know if they're going to be having their best tackle out there. Quinn Ewers' ankle is kind of concerning too. He had the one nice run early in the game, but you didn't see a whole lot of that. His footwork was bad, turned the ball over a couple of times. I think this is an interesting game. And you know what? If anybody's going to take an 8 overtime game against Georgia Tech and turn it into just pure fuel on nobody believes in us, we don't care, it's Kirby Smart. I think Georgia comes out. I think they play a very good game on defense. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. Carson Beck, I mean, I watch Carson Beck and simultaneously I see, oh yeah, this guy is terrible. And I also see, oh, this is why they thought he could be the first pick in the draft. Because he has throws and moments where it's like, oh my God, that's an NFL throw right there. So it depends what Beck we get. It really does. I hate to rely on what quarterback's going to show up. Also, don't love he says he only watches film. Like, he doesn't like football. That's like a do not draft NFL stat for me. But I think it's just going to be on the defense in this game. They won the first matchup in Austin. I think it's going to look a little bit more like the second half than it did the first half. So it's going to be a close game, pretty two evenly matched teams. I like the home field advantage for Georgia, and I think the defensive line doesn't allow Texas to run the ball, and they can get after Ewers. Give me the Dogs plus 125 in the upset.
Yeah, obviously in the A&M game in Texas, they ran the brakes off of the A&M defense. So if they can't do that, obviously that's going to be a big problem Quinn Ewers is still hurt and can't get around and can't scramble and can't get away from the Georgia defense, which they're notoriously very good. Um, yeah, it could be a problem, but I also don't like Carson Beck not watching film or watching football.
Only watching
Um,
football to watch film. Doesn't like football.
he watches film, doesn't watch football.
Makes him stressed.
Any any NFL player watches football. They go home if they play a Thursday game, if they play a Monday game, they're watching football on Sunday. They're watching football.
They
They're
love
watching all
ball.
the games.
They
So
just love ball.
they you can't be a pro and not love your craft. So that's a little concerning. But like you said, I mean, Carson Beck, his intangibles are pretty good. 6'4", 6'5". He's tall as hell. He's a little skinny, but he's tall and has a rocket arm, has those wow moments, but has those what the hell are you doing moments. So kind of just all depends on what happens. It's obviously they play the game for a reason. So and it's also hard to beat a team twice in a year. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun game. Saturday at 3, so right in the middle of the day, it's gonna be fun. So yeah, you have Georgia, I have Texas, so we're gonna go against each other, I guess.
I like it. All the conference championship games are nice. I like it. I like all the matchups. Clemson, SMU should be a good game. Penn State. I'd much rather watch Penn State, Oregon than those frauds in Columbus that would have squeaked by Michigan, but they suck. Sorry, that's enough Ohio State hate for this podcast. That's gonna do it for us this week. I'm not sure what the schedule is gonna look like moving forward. We will be picking all the bowl games, definitely the playoff games. We'll be hanging around for that, but we just have to get that schedule worked out. Army Navy next week, probably not gonna have a show, but maybe we'll live stream during the game, hang out and watch and chat with you guys as we support our troops. Make sure everybody watches that. If you haven't already, drop a quick like on this video, subscribe. Oh wait, go over your picks. We got to go over our picks. Scott, I almost forgot. Run down your picks for
Yeah,
the people and
quickly.
we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, Texas minus 2.5 against Georgia. Clemson, SMU over 55.5. We both have UNLV +4 against Boise, and then Marshall +180 against Lafayette.
All right, yeah. So yes, both UNLV. I got UNLV also with +4 versus Boise. I got SMU -2.5 against Clemson. Give me Penn State and Oregon under 49.5, and give me the Dogs +125 against the lowly Texas Longhorns. That's gonna do it for us now this week. Be sure to check it out if you haven't already. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We got daily sports content for you guys. If you want to support the channel more, sign up for a channel membership. We have exclusive members-only videos coming out every Friday now. We got all sorts of good stuff, things to use for the live streams, badges, emojis, all sorts of good stuff. Help support us, allows me to keep making this great content for you guys every single day. If you want to check out one of these games live, you're thinking about going to a conference championship game, head on over to SeatGeek.com. Use code afterthereview for $20 off your first purchase. That's SeatGeek.com. Code afterthereview for $20 off your first purchase. Again, like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see y'all tomorrow.